The history of moonshining is as rich and complex as the spirits themselves. A tradition that began in the midst of clandestine distilling in the Appalachian Mountains, it has evolved from simple farmers attempting to make a few extra bucks to a full-blown subculture of independent brewers and distillers, pushing the boundaries of alcohol production. With bootleggers, smugglers, and rebellion woven into its very fabric, moonshine is both a product and a legacy. And today, as the past fades into the present, the characters and spirits that fuel this craft are more fascinating than ever before. In this series, we will delve into some of the more captivating moments in the moonshine world, starting with the outdated beer, the rise of moonshine bosses, the advent of Juniper-based spirits, and much more. This journey takes us through a mix of tradition, innovation, and even a bit of trouble. So buckle up. This ride through moonshining history is bound to get bumpy. Outdated beer, a surprising gateway into moonshining. It might sound strange to say that beer, of all things, played a key role in the rise of moonshining. After all, beer and moonshine are worlds apart in the alcohol universe. But in many ways, beer served as the humble beginning of a tradition that would eventually give rise to high-proof spirits, many of which are still celebrated today in the bootlegging world. Back in the day, small-scale brewers in rural parts of America brewed beer, mostly for personal use or in small batches to sell to local communities. However, due to the technological limitations and lack of refrigeration, beer often became outdated quickly. What was once refreshing now became flat and unpleasant to drink, forcing people to find creative uses for it. Some would use it as a base to create spirits, turning the stale liquid into something with a much higher proof. These accidental moonshiners laid the groundwork for what would become a robust underground business. People in Appalachia, for instance, were quick to spot the potential. Farmers with leftover crops, including grains like corn or barley that had gone unused in their beer-making process, began fermenting them further, creating an alcohol much stronger than their original brew. What once started as an attempt to salvage outdated beer had soon evolved into the world of moonshine as we know it, a homemade, untaxed, and highly potent spirit that could be traded, consumed, or even sold. While beer itself is typically brewed to around 5% alcohol content, homemade moonshine could exceed 100% proof, depending on the distillation process. So, although outdated beer may seem like a far cry from moonshine, it became a natural stepping stone into a whole new form of alcohol production, one that would soon be defined by secrecy, risk, and a whole lot of character. The moonshine boss, a new breed of entrepreneur. With the rise of moonshining came the rise of the moonshine boss, a term that conjures images of powerful figures who ruled their patch of the mountains with an iron fist. These figures weren't just your average backwoods folk. They were savvy entrepreneurs who could turn a profit even while staying off the radar of government tax collectors. While they may not have had the luxury of high-rise offices or flashing suits, they had something far more important: an instinct for business and the art of staying hidden. Take, for instance, a figure like Big Jack Ferguson, a real-life moonshine boss from the 1930s. Known for his deft handling of illegal production and distribution, Big Jack's reach extended beyond the mountains of Kentucky. He had an extensive network of loyal customers and distributors, many of whom would risk their own freedom to keep his operation going. He had a way of reading people, a skill honed over years of living in the world of secrecy. It was said that he could tell if someone was looking for trouble just by looking into their eyes, a talent that kept his business intact even when law enforcement was closing in. The moonshine boss wasn't just a figurehead. They were often the ones responsible for perfecting the recipe, finding the best spots for stills, and managing all the logistics of smuggling. With the rise of Prohibition in the 1920s, these bosses became crucial players in the bootlegging trade, supplying alcohol to speakeasies and underground bars across the country. Their connections often stretched into the urban centers, making them not just hillbilly outlaws, but entrepreneurs operating in a world of shadows. These moonshine bosses helped shape the culture of bootlegging and laid the foundation for what would become a multi-billion-dollar industry today. They were pioneers in more ways than one. Not only did they create illicit alcohol, but they also turned a criminal operation into a profitable business, navigating the fine line between being a small-time criminal and a big-time businessman. Juniper spirits. On the old moonshine recipe, it's not just corn and barley that get transformed into moonshine. Over the years, distillers have experimented with a variety of ingredients, pushing the boundaries of traditional moonshine. One of the most fascinating developments has been the rise of juniper-based spirits, best known for their role in gin production. But, in a moonshine context, juniper has taken on a new life, offering up a flavor profile that combines herbal, citrus, and piney notes with the smooth warmth of the spirit. Juniper was not initially a favorite among moonshiners. Early on, the focus was on grains, corn, rye, barley, and occasionally fruits, like apples and peaches. But as moonshiners sought new ways to differentiate their products, they turned to other botanicals, including juniper berries, which have been used in alcohol for centuries. Juniper, when distilled, can impart a unique flavor that has led to its popularity in contemporary craft spirits. But it wasn't always this way. For many moonshiners, it started as an experiment. Take, for instance, an old recipe passed down through generations in the Appalachian region. The original recipe was made with corn and rye, but was then infused with wild juniper berries gathered from the forests surrounding the distiller's cabin. The result was a smooth, herbal moonshine that carried the scent of the mountain air. For years, this product remained a family secret, but when a few local bars started carrying the juniper moonshine, the recipe spread like wildfire. Soon, distillers from all over the region were adding juniper to their stills, transforming their moonshine into something entirely new. Juniper spirits also represent the adaptability of moonshiners. Despite the changing laws and the pressures of prohibition and later regulations, these innovative brewers continued to find ways to improve their product. While many traditionalists would scoff at the idea of using juniper in moonshine, it's clear that this new direction added a touch of sophistication to the moonshine world, giving it an edge that brought in a new generation of consumers who appreciated the herbal, fresh flavors. Moonshining moments. Stories of success, failure, and everything in between. While the names of famous moonshine bosses and distillers have entered the folklore of the South, countless unsung stories illustrate the highs and lows of the moonshine life. From narrow escapes from the law to ingenious methods for evading capture, moonshiners have lived through some of the most outrageous moments in American history. One such story involves a moonshiner known as Black Jack McKinney, who was so elusive that law enforcement thought he had a second set of hands, or perhaps a few secret identical twins. It's said that whenever he was cornered by authorities, McKinney would make a quick getaway, disappearing into the woods. His most famous escape involved him evading a police blockade by hiding his moonshine stash in a creek, where the water's rapid flow carried the evidence far downstream, never to be found. But not all moonshine moments were about evasion and escape. Some of them were about persistence and ingenuity. For example, during the Great Depression, moonshiners saw an uptick in demand as people turned to illegal spirits when they couldn't afford legitimate alcohol. One such distiller in Georgia managed to adapt by turning to an unconventional fuel source, sweet potatoes. Despite the vegetable being in short supply for food, He realized that sweet potatoes could be fermented into a surprisingly smooth and unique moonshine. This sweet potato shine gained a cult following and became a cherished part of moonshine culture for years. End of Part 1. The story of moonshining is far from over. In Part 2, we'll delve deeper into the impact of prohibition, the lasting legacy of moonshine in the modern world, and the innovators who are keeping the spirit alive today. From craft distillers to underground legends, the moonshine world is far more than just a shadow of its past. It's an ever-evolving part of American culture. Stay tuned.